In our headlines on this Wednesday, November 27th, here in capital Seoul. Most parts of Korea woke up to a white winter scenery this morning, and heavy snow continues to fall as the evening commute back home begins. Meanwhile, a 60-day truce has been signed between Israel and the Iran-backed militant group Hezbollah to end more than a year of armed conflict in the region. Back here in South Korea, the number of newborns rebounds in the third quarter, soaring 8% on year to mark the highest annual rise in over a decade. Korea's first snow for this winter season began touching ground last night in capital Seoul today, so its highest amount of daily snowfall in over a century. Our Park Gun-woo reports.
The first snow of the season fell heavy. On Wednesday, the Seoul Meteorological Observatory said the heaviest snow accumulation of the day was 16.5 centimeters at 7 a.m. That's the heaviest snow recorded on any day in November since 1907, when such observations were first made. The previous record was 12.4 centimeters in November 1972. Some places within the capital city, including Seongbuk-gu and Gangbuk-gu districts, even saw over 20 centimeters by 7 a.m.
Here in Seoul, heavy snow that began last night is still falling this afternoon, and I'm currently standing in the middle of it. The roads are quite slippery and people are walking extra carefully to avoid slipping on sidewalks.
It's hard to believe how much snow has fallen. There's so much that the ground is soaked and it's still coming down heavily, making it difficult to walk around.
The morning commute was especially crowded with traffic at a standstill in many areas.
It's snowing so heavily that I couldn't see in front of me. Though it's the first snowfall of the season, which is exciting. Many commuters would have been flustered by the heavy traffic during rush hour.
Other areas in the country, such as Gangwon-do province, also saw a lot of snow, leading to accidents, including a car crash on the Seoul-Yangyang Expressway that resulted in 1 person dead and 6 injured. Scores of flights departing from domestic airports were also delayed or cancelled. Due to the heavy snow, the Interior Ministry activated Level 2 of the Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasures Headquarters Response Posture and raised the heavy snow warning to alert. Also, President Yoon Suk-yeol ordered related authorities to mobilize all snow removal personnel and equipment to prevent accidents and traffic congestion. He also ordered an increase in public transportation during peak hours. And the Korea Meteorological Administration predicted the heavy snow will continue across the country until Thursday morning. Park Gun-woo, Arirang News.
In the Middle East, a truce has taken effect to halt the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. Our Choi Seong has the latest.
A deadly cross-border conflict between Israel and the Lebanon-based Hezbollah has now entered a 60-day ceasefire. On Tuesday, U.S. President Joe Biden announced that a U.S. and France-led ceasefire initiative started at 4 a.m. on Wednesday. He also said this could lead to a permanent cessation of hostilities.
I'm pleased to announce that their governments have accepted the United States proposal to end the devastating conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. Effective at 4 a.m. tomorrow local time, the fighting across the Lebanese-Israeli border will end.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced a ceasefire on Tuesday evening, stating that the promised agreement had been fulfilled.
I have said many times that a good agreement is an agreement that is enforced, and we will enforce it.
The Iranian government, which has long opposed Israel and supported the Lebanese-based militant group Hezbollah with weapons and funds, said it was pleased to welcome the ceasefire between the two sides. South Korea has also welcomed and thanked the country's diplomatic efforts involved in ceasefire negotiations. Following the agreement, Israel will withdraw its troops from southern Lebanon during the ceasefire period. Lebanese forces will reclaim control of areas currently held by Hezbollah. Hezbollah will remove its fighters and weapons from an area south of Lebanon's Litani River, established as the boundary following the 2006 Israel-Hezbollah war. Netanyahu emphasized that if Hezbollah breaks a ceasefire deal, he will strike back right away. Experts said that Hezbollah would focus more on its internal issues for now.
So, multinational forces are going to be observing and trying to prevent anything that would violate the ceasefire. Right now, I think, even though it's always difficult to predict, but I think it seems like Hezbollah will probably lay low and focus on domestic concern.
Meanwhile, Israel carried out an intensive airstrike in Beirut before the agreement went into effect. AFP reported that the Israeli military issued an evacuation warning in Beirut and conducted around 20 attacks on the outskirts of Beirut, targeting Hezbollah military bases. The 60-day ceasefire temporarily pauses fighting, the locals say has killed nearly 4,000 people since it started. Incheon, Arirang News.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump is reportedly weighing his options of resuming dialogue with North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Our Lee Soo-jin explains.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's team is considering re-engaging with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, which may lead to a diplomatic and political shift on the Korean peninsula. Reuters reported on Tuesday local time that two people familiar with the matter said that Trump's team is weighing the possibility of direct talks with Kim in the hope of lowering the risk of armed conflict. This comes as Trump appointed Alex Wong, who played a key role in his Singapore and Hanoi summits with Kim, as Deputy National Security Advisor, heightening speculation about a renewed interest in pursuing dialogue with North Korea. Trump met with the North Korean leader a total of 3 times during his first term, at the summit in Singapore in 2018, Hanoi in February 2019, and then a third impromptu meeting at the DMZ a couple months later on June 2019. The U.S. president-elect also hinted at his interest in talks between the U.S. and North Korea in his speech at the Republican National Convention in July, saying that he will get along with Kim if he takes office again. But there are still major hurdles to overcome before a U.S.-North Korea summit takes place. It's unclear whether North Korea would be willing to re-engage with Trump after 4 years of no direct dialogue between the North and the Biden administration, with Kim instead focusing on advancing North Korea's missile capabilities and relations with Russia. There are also more pressing foreign matters such as the war in Ukraine and the Middle East, as well as domestic issues that Trump has vowed to address from his first day in office. But with his team considering talks with North Korea during the transition period, a summit with Kim may be sought soon after the inauguration on January 20. If such a summit takes place, it will be crucial for South Korea to be included in order for security interests in the region to not be undermined, especially in regard to denuclearization. Lee Soo-jin, Arirang News.
Back on the local front, findings for the third quarter show a rebound in the number of newborns, which rose 8% on year to mark the highest annual rise in over a decade. Our Moon Hye-ryun covers the latest findings.
The number of births in South Korea saw a surprising rebound in the third quarter, surging at rates unseen in more than a decade. According to data released by Statistics Korea on Wednesday, the total number of births between July and September came to just over 61,000, surging by 8% compared to the same period last year. Such a year-on-year increase has not been recorded since the fourth quarter of 2012. This brings the total fertility rate, the average number of children a woman will have during her reproductive years, to 0.76, up 0.05 from the previous year. It comes as the total number of births in September this year tallied up to 20,590, which is more than 10% higher than the same month in 2023, marking the highest increase for the month of September since 2010. If this trend continues, the country could see an annual increase in the number of births for the first time in 9 years. On Tuesday, the Presidential Committee on Aging Society and Population Policy predicted that the annual total fertility rate will come to 0.74. The government attributed the incline to the continued rise in the number of marriages recorded, as figures showed a sharp uptick of nearly 19% in September and 24% in the third quarter compared to last year. A spokesperson from Statistics Korea also commented on the increase in the number of women in their 30s, as well as changing views on having children.
There are more women in their early 30s, and as you can see, the number of births from mothers in their 30s showed a large increase. And in a recent survey, we were able to find that views on having children are changing in a positive way, as did a survey taken by the Presidential Committee on Aging Society and Population Policy.
Data shows that the birth rate for women aged between 30 to 34 years old had the sharpest year-on-year increase in the third quarter of this year, rising by 6.6%. Experts also say that it's worth noting that the large increase this year should be viewed as a base effect of a nearly 15% decline in September last year, and that population policies introduced at the start of this year will begin to reflect in the data next year.
There were several new policies introduced at the start of the year that could have an effect, targeting newlyweds, the main group that will have children. So if there is to be an effect, it'll start showing slowly next year.
Meanwhile, the number of deaths exceeded that of the number of births in the third quarter of this year, meaning that the country's population saw a natural decline of more than 28,000. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
In other news, Korea's top economic policymaker has vowed support for advanced industries amid concerns over global trade under a second Trump leadership. During a related government meeting earlier on this Wednesday, Finance Minister Choi Sang-mok asserted that the next 6 months will prove to be the golden hour to set the future path of Korean industries. This being said, he spoke of plans to provide monetary support for chip equipment used at semiconductor clusters. The government will also work closely with the parliament for tax deductions for R&D and facility investments. An end-of-year concert took place here in South Korea aimed at raising greater awareness about the plight of people held against their will in North Korea and about the pain of separation on the Korean peninsula. Our culture correspondent Song Yoo-jin has details.
Eight Korean artists, 3 from the South and 5 originally from the North, unite on stage for the 2024 Healing Concert with 3 Forget-Me-Not Blossoms. Organized by the Ministries of Culture and Unification, the Canadian Embassy in Korea, and the Citizens Alliance for North Korean Human Rights, the event commemorated abductees, detainees, and Korean War prisoners still held in the North, as well as families separated by the war.
This concert symbolizes hope for the safe return of those in the North, for separated families to reunite, and for the day we see a unified Korea. Culture connects us, even across borders, which is why our ministry took part in this event.
Our ministry has been using the 3 Forget-Me-Not Blossom symbol, each blossom representing abductees, detainees and war prisoners, in campaigns to raise awareness. This concert adds a new dimension by involving artists, including North Korean defectors.
Participating musicians from both sides of the border had a rare chance to sing from the same hymn sheet, performing as one to share a message of hope.
I hope my voice brings comfort to the abductees, detainees, and separated families. Hearing about the risks people take to defect to the South is both humbling and heart-wrenching. To be able to perform together with them fills me with deep emotion.
Having grown up in North Korea and now living in the South, I know the pain of leaving near home and family behind. I sincerely hope that those in the North who have been separated from their families in the South without even knowing if they are alive can soon reunite it.
But this concert isn't just about looking back. It also aimed to shed light on the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the North.
For decades, they've been enduring unimaginable human rights violations. We need more events like this to raise awareness and inspire action. I hope these voices of hope and solidarity reach those in the North.
We have had an inaugural dialogue between our 2 countries on North Korean human rights. Music is a universal language, and I can't think of a more appropriate way of speaking to the universality of human rights as we approach International Human Rights Day later in December.
It was an evening where music became a powerful voice for harmony, a balm for the wounds of Korea's division, and a beacon of hope for a future where no one is left behind. Song Yoo-jin, Arirang News.
Meanwhile, to the delight of fans worldwide, the main trailer and poster for Squid Game Season 2 have been released. The trailer shows the return of player 456, that is Ki-hoon, played by actor Lee Jong-jae, leading a new team against the deadly games. Ki-hoon returns to take revenge against the frontman played by actor Lee Byung-hun and to end the games for good. Netflix will begin streaming the second season of Squid Game the day after Christmas, that is on December 26th. Meanwhile, once the snowfall stops and the weather picks up here in the metropolitan area, do check out Seoul's top 10 hiking trails that offer some of the best scenic views of the city. Our An Sung-jin has a guideline.
Lucia loves hiking, especially since she came to Korea a year ago. Bukhansan, Inwangsan, Gwanaksan. Mountain after mountain, she has hiked at least 10 peaks in Seoul. What's helped her enjoy hiking even more are the various programs offered by the Seoul Hiking Tourism Center, which is run by the Seoul Tourism Organization.
We have this wonderful hiking center that organizes these tours for free, and the guides are very attentive and very helpful and friendly.
The center runs roughly 4 hikes a week. Applicants sign up online and then turn up at the meeting point and hike.
On a day with great fall weather like this, even hiking beginners like myself can fully immerse in the beautiful mountain scenery in Seoul.
I've made a lot of friends here, and it's so easy because everyone usually comes alone and kind of searches the same thing.
It's not just hiking on offer. The hiking center offers other programs such as indoor sports activities, fortress tours, tea ceremonies, temple visits, and various other events that show a glimpse of Korea's natural landscape. For those that are in need of gear, the Seoul Hiking Tourism Center offers rentals as well. From hiking poles to outdoor jackets, whether you come prepared or not, it's no problem.
It's really rare that there are mountains near the big city like Seoul. It's not only important for just looking at the Seoul city, but when you hike up, you can see all the scenery of Seoul, and this is really fascinating. So we thought that could be the new trend of K-tourism.
With the center providing everything you need, why not take a stroll or hike up the mountain the next time you're in Seoul? Han Song-jin, Arirang News.
And Korea's Incheon city is playing host to a global gathering that seeks to promote wind energy as a viable and sustainable energy option. Our Shin Ha-young reports.
Amid global efforts to triple renewable energy capacity by the year 2030, the Asia-Pacific region is drawing significant global attention in terms of its wind energy. According to the Global Wind Energy Council, the APAC region is expected to account for over 60% of new wind capacity worldwide between 2024 and 2030. South Korea is seen as a country that can lead APEC's wind energy growth by leveraging its supply chain strengths and advancing industry-friendly policies to meet its 14.3 gigawatts offshore wind goal by 2030.
There's not many places in the world where we can look and see the technical expertise, the industrial capacity that we see in Korea, and really a potential not just to supply the Korean industry, but to supply projects all around the world.
The remarks came during an opening ceremony of the APAC Wind Energy Summit 2024. Following the recent COP29 summit, wind industry leaders and government officials from 13 countries gathered in Incheon, South Korea to discuss challenges in wind energy sector and ways to accelerate its growth.
2024 is a milestone year for wind energy in South Korea, with February 27th designated as Korea Wind Energy Day, and the government announcing a 100 trillion won offshore wind expansion plan.
The key sessions during the summit dealt with investment within the industry as well as offshore wind supply chain issues.
I think the key takeaway for me is that we need to do more as a region to collaborate, to reconcile with the fact that carbon emissions doesn't care about border, and we shouldn't care either. And
project development can take a long time due to lengthy permits and complex regulations, creating uncertainty about investment scale and timing. South Korea is no exception. Legislation to address these issues is under discussion in the National Assembly to drive growth in the wind industry.
The best advice that we can give, in particularly where an environment where as countries we compete for the same resources, and as an industry we compete with other resources again for the key minerals, for the key materials that go into it, that we ensure that we have a barrier that is as attractive as possible, allowing corporates and developers to have a pathway to profitability.
Jens Orfield, the regional president for RWE Offshore Wind in Asia Pacific, added that despite concerns over a potential slowdown in U.S. renewable deployment ahead of Trump's second term, it could create opportunities for Asia, including South Korea, to strengthen the energy transition. 신하영, Arirang News.
This is The World Now, bringing you the latest stories from around the globe. The diplomatic representatives of the G7 countries and the European Union released a joint statement at the end of the two-day meeting on Tuesday, where geopolitical issues took priority. The statement condemned Russia for its war of aggression against Ukraine, while promising continued support for Ukraine. Foreign ministers of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom, the US, and the EU's representative began the joint statement with a strong condemnation of Russia's actions, including its irresponsible and threatening nuclear rhetoric. The statement also called North Korea's deployment of troops to Russia a serious concern, marking a dangerous expansion of the conflict. It added that North Korea's allies, including China, should uphold international law and oppose the action. The statement also welcomed efforts to secure a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hezbollah and highlighted the need to ensure sufficient aid reaches Gaza. In Pakistan, security forces launched a midnight raid on thousands of protesters who breached a lockdown in the capital Islamabad, demanding the release of the country's imprisoned former Prime Minister Imran Khan. According to local media, hundreds were arrested in chaotic scenes in the early hours of Wednesday. Supporters of Imran Khan's PTI party, led by his wife, Bushra Bibi, clashed with Pakistan security forces earlier on Tuesday, with reports that at least 6 people died in the violence. The imprisoned former PM urged them to fight till the end. Protesters broke through several lines of security towards the heavily guarded red zone in the city's center, which houses the country's parliament and other key offices. Khan's PTI party said it planned to stage a sit-in protest in the red zone until Khan's release. Now, Imran Khan has been in prison since August last year, but remains popular in Pakistan. The very best from the world of television, initially from outside the US, including actors and TV shows, were honored at the 52nd International Emmy Awards in New York City on Monday. Thailand's Chutimon Chuengcharoensukeeng, nicknamed Alkbab, was named Best Actress for her role in Hunger, while British actor Timothy Spall won Best Performance for his role in the true crime series The Sixth Commandment. French-Japanese drama series Drops of God won Best Drama Series, while Argentina's División Palermo was crowned for comedy. Now, the Founders Award, given for contribution to the quality of international television production, was handed to veteran TV writer and producer David E. Kelly. The world's oldest man, John Tinniswood, has died aged 112, according to the Guinness World Records on Tuesday. Tinniswood, born in 1912 in Liverpool, England, passed away at a care home in Southport, surrounded by music and love, in the arms of his loved ones on Monday, according to a statement by his family. Born in the same year the Titanic sank, Tinniswood survived 2 world wars and global pandemics and worked as an accountant before retiring at 60. His favorite dish was fish and chips, and he followed no special diet. Now, the Guinness records say staying mentally active may have contributed to his longevity. Kim Seong, Arirang News.
By 7 a.m. this morning, 16.5 centimeters of snow had accumulated in Seoul, recording the highest snowfall in November in 117 years. Currently, heavy snow warnings are issued for central and southern inland areas, as well as Seoul. More heavy snow is expected tonight. Until tomorrow, up to 20 centimeters of snow will fall in the southern parts of Gyeonggi-do province and southwestern parts of Gangwon-do province. As much as 10 centimeters of snow is also expected in Seoul metropolitan area, northwest Gangwon-do province, 15 centimeters in Chungcheongbuk-do province, and eastern parts of Jeollabuk-do province. With snow falling everywhere, the morning will start at below 0 degrees in some areas. Seoul -2 degrees Celsius, Gyeongju -1. Daily highs will move up to 4 degrees in Seoul, Gwangju and Gyeongju 10 degrees. Daytime temperatures will be colder tomorrow and Friday. Please dress extra warm and be careful out on the slippery roads. That's all for Korea. Here are the weather conditions around the world.
Right, those are the headlines at this hour here in South Korea. Coming up right after this break is our daily panel session. And today we touch upon yet again the Trump administration's potential foreign policy.